Good morning, students. Welcome back to yet another video of Civics Chapter 3 Electoral Politics Part 2. In the previous class, we discussed about why do we need elections. Today, we will learn about what is our system of elections. Under this subtopic, today we will discuss about electoral constituencies, reserved constituencies, and voters list. With no further ado, let's start today's class. What is our system of elections? We now know that elections are important for our country. But how do these elections take place? India has more than 133 crores of people. Who elects whom and how? It could be a complete mess with so many people. That is why we have a system of elections in India. Elections in India are democratic. We have Lok Sabha elections at the central level through which the members of the parliament are elected. And we have Vidhan Sabha elections at the state level through which the members of the legislative assembly are elected. There are two categories of elections: general election and by-election. General elections are the elections that are held after every 5 years when the parliament completes its full term. Every 5 years, the Lok Sabha and the Vidhan Sabha dissolve and the people elect new representatives. Elections are held in all constituencies at the same time, either on the same day or within few days. This is called as general election. And by-election, which does not occur very frequently, which happens in single constituency only to fill a vacancy due to death or resignation of a member. In order to understand the entire system of elections, we will go through 5 simple steps. Step 1 is electoral constituencies. It means how do we divide the country or state into smaller regions to ensure organized election system. The second step is candidates nomination from each constituency. And the third step is election campaign. It means how do these candidates communicate with the common people of the country. Step 4, voters list. Who is eligible to vote and who is not. Step 5 and the last one, polling and counting of votes. So let's get started with step 1, that is electoral constituencies. In order to ensure an organized system of elections, the country or state is divided into constituencies. The bigger question is, how do we divide the country or state into constituencies? Let us take the example of Karnataka. The entire state of Karnataka has a total area of 1,91,976 kilometers square. Now let us assume that we divide Karnataka into constituencies such that each constituency has equal area. We are just assuming this. And what do we find? We end up with an area, one which has heavy population of about 1 lakh people, whereas in area 2, which has very small population of merely 100 people living within it. As a result, the leader elected in area 1 is because of 1 lakh votes, and whereas the leader elected in area 2 is because of just 100 votes. Now, this is not a fair deal. Elections is all about voting. So what is more important is the population. the population living within a constituency rather than the area of that constituency. Therefore, the country or the states are divided into constituencies such that each constituency has roughly equal population living within it. In Lok Sabha elections, the country is divided into constituencies such that each constituency has roughly equal population. The elected representative from each constituency become a member of parliament, that is MP. Now there are a total of 543 constituencies in India. In Lok Sabha, we have 545 seats, out of which 530 seats come from the constituencies within states, and 13 seats comes from the union territories, and 2 seats are directly nominated by the President of India. Each state is given a fixed number of seats in the Lok Sabha such that the ratio of the number of seats to the total population of that state remains the same for all the states in India. Now this is very important. I will repeat it once again. The state is divided into electoral constituencies such that each constituency has roughly equal population. So it means the electoral constituencies, or else the constituencies, the division of the constituency is based on the population, not based on the total area. However, this rule does not apply to the states which has a population lesser than 60 lakhs. Each state is divided into a specific number of assembly constituencies. Each elected representative is called an MLA, member of the Legislative Assembly. The same principle applies for panchayat and municipal elections. Each village or town is divided into several wards, and that are like constituencies. Each ward elects one member of the village or the urban local body. Urban local bodies are small local bodies that administers or governs a city or a town of specified population. Now, we often heard that people telling that this party won 30 seats, that party won 60 seats. What do we actually mean by that? In fact, if you remember, in 2018 Karnataka Assembly elections, BJP had won 104 seats and Congress had won 80 seats. What does that mean? That actually means that the candidates of BJP had won in 104 constituencies out of the total 224 constituencies in Karnataka. Now let's move on to the next subheading, explaining about the reserved constituencies. In order to ensure that the weaker sections of the society are not deprived of participation in elections, there are reservations for the weaker sections. In a scheduled caste reserved constituency, only someone who belongs to the scheduled caste can stand for election. Similarly, in the case of scheduled tribe, for a constituency reserved for the scheduled tribe, someone who belongs to scheduled tribe can contest in the election. In Lok Sabha, out of 545 seats, 131 seats are reserved, 84 seats are reserved for the scheduled caste, and 47 for the scheduled tribe. So in Lok Sabha election, total there is 545 seats, And out of 545 seats, 131 seats are reserved. It means 84 seats are reserved for the scheduled caste and 47 seats are reserved for the scheduled tribe. Now, if we look at the total population of India, we see that scheduled caste comprises of 16.6% and scheduled tribe comprises of 8.6% of the total population of India. So reservations exist for the lower sections at similar percentages at the central levels, state levels, municipality levels, as well as the panchayat levels. Similarly, 1/3 of the seats are reserved for women in rural and urban local bodies. Now let's move on to the next subtopic, explaining about voters list. Here you can see the image of the voters list as well as an image of a voter ID card. And in the next slide, it is explaining about the criteria of the voters list. Now let's analyze who can vote. Let's quickly look at the criteria for voting. All the citizens above 18 years of age have the right to vote, whether he is educated, uneducated, rich or poor, kind or cruel, whatever it is. Every citizen above 18 years of age has the right to vote. So this is the first and the foremost criteria for voting. The second point is candidates who have criminal records or unsound mind may be denied to vote, but that happens very rarely. The third point, now the list of eligible voters is prepared long before the elections actually take place. And this list is called voters list or electoral roll. And the fourth point is, it is also important that the voters list is revised every 5 years because elections takes place every 5 years. So in a gap of every 5 years, we will revise our voters list. And what are the things we need to incorporate during the revision of the voters list? First of all the citizens who are attaining 18 years of age should be included in the list. The next prominent point is all those who are dead should be deleted from the list. And the next point is all those who are moved out of the constituencies need to be deleted from the list. On the election day, only those citizens whose names are there on the voters list will be allowed to cast vote. And that too, they have to carry election photo ID card so that no one can vote for someone else. But this card is not yet compulsory for voting. For voting, the voters can show many other proofs of identity like driving license, ration card, or any other sorts of identity proof. By this, we concluded today's class. Now let's have a quick recap of today's class. So today we started learning the subtopic, what is our system of election? And then we discussed about electoral constituency, reserved constituency, and voters list. What is our system of election? There we discussed that elections are held in India in Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha regularly after every 5 years. After 5 years, the term of all the elected representatives comes to an end. Elections held in all constituencies at the same time, either on the same day or within a few days, is called general elections. And then we learned about the by-election. So sometimes elections are held only for one constituency to fill the vacancy caused by death or resignation of a member. So this is called a by-election. Then we learned the details of the electoral constituency. India is divided into different areas of purpose of election, different areas for the purpose of elections. These areas are called electoral constituencies. The voters who live in an area elect one representative. For Lok Sabha elections, India is divided into 543 constituencies. The representative elected from each constituency is called a member of parliament or an MP. Each state is divided into a specific number of assembly constituencies. In this case, the elected representative is called the member of legislative assembly or an MLA. Each parliamentary constituency has within its several assembly constituencies. The same principle applies for panchayat and municipal elections. Each village or town is divided into several wards and that are like constituencies. Each ward elects one member of the village or the urban local body. Sometimes these constituencies are counted as seats, for each constituency represents one seat in the assembly. Next, we discussed about reserved constituencies. Some constituencies are reserved for people who belong to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. In the Lok Sabha, 84 seats are reserved for the scheduled caste and 47 for the scheduled tribe. In scheduled caste reserved constituency, only someone who belongs to the scheduled caste can stand for election. Only those belonging to the scheduled tribe can contest an election from a constituency reserved for scheduled tribe. In many states, seats in rural and urban local bodies are now reserved for other backward classes and women candidates as well. Here, rural means panchayat level and the urban means the municipalities and the corporations. Then finally, we discussed about the voters list. In a democratic election, the list of those who are eligible to vote is prepared much before the election and given to everyone, which is officially called the electoral roll, and it is commonly known as the voters list. It is the responsibility of the government to get the names of all the eligible voters put on the voters list. The voters are required to carry election photo identity card, EPIC, when they go out to vote, so that no one can vote for someone else. But the card is not yet compulsory for voting, as voters can show many other proofs of identity like the ration card or the driving license. With this, we concluded today's class. In the next class, we will discuss about nomination of candidates, election campaign, and polling and counting of votes. If you have any doubts related to today's session, we can discuss right now, or else you can mail to the email ID dmcsonlinequeries@gmail.com. Thank you, students. Have a good day ahead.